All right, I think that's good. It looks like we got a good crowd here, so I appreciate you all jumping on today. My name is Kevin Townsend. I'm an account manager and a managing consultant here at Bamboo Solutions. Um, we are going to walk through some of the products in our external user management suite today. We're going to take a look at the 5 products that come in this suite. You can buy them individually, but they also come as a package here if you are interested. So let's get started. Again, thank you all for jumping on. I appreciate that. Hopefully we can get you some information about these products. And if you've got any questions, we are using GoToWebinar today. So if you are familiar with the GoToWebinar tool and the format there, you do have the option to submit questions to me as well as chat with me. So please feel free to use that and communicate with me there. If you don't want to ask that in the webinar, but you'd rather communicate afterwards, you can always reach out to us at sales@bamboosolutions.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can and get your questions answered. So if you don't know much about Bamboo, Bamboo's been around for quite a while in the SharePoint space. We are a Microsoft Gold partner. One thing that a lot of people don't know about Bamboo is that we have a very strong consulting services division as well. So you may know us as having products that help you extend SharePoint, whether that be in your on-premises installations or in your SharePoint Online environment or tenant. But we also provide services, and so we do anything SharePoint related on the services side. We have a blended rate that we charge that service for, and so for the same rate, hourly rate, you can get an administrator or a developer or any role that you might need. So we have someone to fill all of those gaps if you've got any immediate needs for that. And so, yeah, we've got something like 40 plus products on SharePoint that range from SharePoint 2013 all the way to SharePoint Online. We do have quite a few customers around the world that we currently are servicing. Yeah, so let's jump right in. Let's go take a look at what is the external user management suite. So I've got a web page here I'm going to pull up real quick. I'm going to show that right here on our screen. So if you go to our website, you can check this out and get a little bit more information, maybe some bullet points and some details around what comes in this package, what kind of functionality this package serves. Primarily, the use case for External User Manager was based on being able to manage an extranet. So having those external users potentially be able to manage their accounts or restrict the types of sites that accounts can create and things like that. So this External User Manager solution was really wrapped around trying to self-serve those users or give administrators a front end to interact with Active Directory type of details and functionality. So there are 5 products, like I said before, that come in External User Manager. I'm going to scroll down the page here. So if you come to our website, there's a SharePoint Apps navigation item there. That over here on the right side of that mega menu, there's a link for the External User Manager. So I clicked on that. That'll take you to this page here. A few bullet points, like I said before. Some of the specifications and requirements around what systems this particular suite works on. So this is for SharePoint on-premises only. It does not work in SharePoint Online. You would use your Azure Active Directory or your Office 365 administration portal to manage that stuff for SharePoint Online. So this helps us on the on-premises side. Maybe your organization has different groups or teams or departments that manage the Active Directory and things like that. So this would give your SharePoint team the ability to interact with Active Directory and the various user management type of functionality through the SharePoint site, as opposed to having to reach out to your AD team or something like that. So the 5 products that come in this are password change, password expiration, password reset. You got site creation plus and user account setup. So we're going to just kind of click through a few slides here just to highlight some of the features of these things, but then we're going to go and actually dig into how you configure these and look at them from more of an administration type of role, so that you can see the configuration of those web parts. And then we'll talk about some pricing at the end and a few other things before we jump off. So let's go ahead and get started. If you want to navigate to our website, though, and you come to check out this, you can click on any of these products individually and check out the features that come in those things. If you're interested in trialing these, you can actually download a trial on our new shop and get access to those. You have a orange button down here on the bottom right that says try by. So you click on that, you can actually add this to your cart, and it will take you to the shop to download those products. So if I add this and I go over to proceed to checkout, just kind of walking through the process here. You can come over here and do that. But if you search for the products here in our shop, there will be a 30-day trial link there on that product page that you can access and request that. Install it in your environment, test it out, and then ask us any questions that you may have. There you go. So let's go ahead and jump in here. Let me mute my notifications. I got alarms only. Good old Teams doesn't abide by Windows notification alerts there. So I'm going to put that in Do Not Disturb. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's go ahead, get back to the slide deck here, and we're just going to check out the next couple of slides that talk about each one of these products. So password change is the first product that comes in the external user management suite. Password change is a very simple tool to interact with your Active Directory in a way that your SharePoint admins can manage user credentials. So password change allows users, if you so choose, to come in and change their passwords, sort of create a self-serve solution, if you will. So all of this is customizable. All this text up here that says the password policy, you have pretty much a rich text field, and you can put whatever requirements apply to your environment. It does not actually, dynamically go and fetch that information, so you have full control over the text and the content that appears up there. Maybe you want to give some instructions to the users on how to change their password, and then the requirements and the specifics around that. But the password change web part allows the user to come in, and you can lock any one of these fields so that they can't change the domain. And you can lock the account field as well, so that it auto-populates with the currently logged in user. And then they can enter their current password and then the new password. And you have a nice little new password strength meter there, as well as a little tooltip that tells you that current user is going to expire. Their password's going to expire in 41 days, right? So they've got that nice little productivity tip there. So on the right side, you're seeing what the configuration menu looks like for password change. So you've got options to set the web application's zone settings. You can select the zones that you have in your SharePoint farm. You can also select some options around how you want this to be formatted when it's presented to the users. So you can display the domain, display the account. You could lock the domain so that they can't change that, and it's just auto-populated by the currently logged in user's credentials, as well as the account. And then we have password change messaging, so that we can say the display password strength meter, we can display the password expiration message, et cetera, et cetera. We can log the password change interaction with our users so that we can kind of monitor that and see what's going on, and we can kind of monitor who's changing what the outcome was, and things and such, instead of having to go into the ULS log viewer to view that kind of interaction. So next up, we've got password expiration. So password expiration is the second product in External User Manager. Password expiration allows us to allow users to see when their password is going to expire. Maybe you want to add this web part to the bottom of your intranet homepage, or maybe you want to add it to some page you have on your intranet, so that users can kind of get that awareness of when their password is going to expire, and then potentially even go ahead and change that, right? And take action on that and be proactive about password management. So on the left, you've got the email reminder that goes out when a password expires or when it's going to expire, so that users can stay apprised to that information. They can click the link here. That'll take them back to a page that allows them to change their password. And then on the right, you've got a little bit of a screen snippet there that shows the configuration of password expiration. Not a whole lot of functionality around that. It really is just a, hey, look, your account, Active Directory, we go in there, look at it, and we say, your password's going to expire here in such and such time. You get a little configuration around how that's displayed, and you can append the URL with any settings you need, and we'll look at that in further detail here in just a moment. So password change, password expiration, password reset is the third product in the External User Manager. Password reset, as the name suggests, is going to let us configure a web part on a page that allows accounts to be have their passwords reset. So we can actually put this on anonymous pages in SharePoint. So if you are serving external users, let's say, and they can't authenticate to the website, if you have a web application configured already that has anonymous access enabled, which you could provision just for the case of this, right? You would be able to include this web part on that page and have the users reset their own passwords. So it would send them an email, obviously here with username and email being the only fields the user have options to fill in. It would send them an email to the registered email address and give them a link to reset that information. So something kind of handy there, right? Minimizing the amount of interaction with IT, as we call out here in one of our key benefits, and allowing users to self-serve. And that's really the key of External User Manager here, is to allow the users to self-serve and get support without kind of going through those channels that may have delays built in, right? That we've all kind of experienced. So I did have a question here. Is the email customizable? Yes, the emails can be customized on most of these products. We'll look at that as we get into the configuration. I got another question. Can a user reset their own password if it's already expired? You can configure it such that password reset can unlock an account. So we'll look at that too in configuration here in just a moment. So the fourth product in the External User Manager suite is the Site Creation Plus. Now we kind of bundled this in because what we found was that users needed to be able to manage their accounts, as well as administrators wanted to be able to specify which accounts and groups have the ability to create sites. And then when we say, yes, you have the ability to create a site, we can actually specify the types of templates they can use to create those sites. So maybe you want to control the fact that your organization is provisioning new sites in this particular site collection or such, and they're only of this type of template. And they could be custom templates, and they could be whatever templates are available in the site collection that you add this web part to would be the options that you can specify they can create sites based on. So this will help kind of govern the creation of SharePoint sites, as we say there, while simplifying that site creation process. And we'll look at that in those settings in just a moment as well. So here we go, last product in External User Manager, User Account Setup. And this allows administrators in SharePoint to visit a page in SharePoint and provision new accounts. So we don't have to go to Active Directory. We don't have to remote desktop into the Active Directory server, go into Active Directory users and groups and create new users that way, which may not be completely intuitive for some. And so this is an option. And so you can use this tool to provision new accounts. You can specify, as you see on the right side there, that little thumbnail, you can specify which SharePoint groups, so it uses those security groups, have access to provision new accounts, and as well as available permission levels to do so. On the left, we're looking at the web application zone. This is just a small configuration screenshot there. This is just kind of specify the zone that we're going to provision new accounts in, and then the type of authentication provider that we're going to use to do so. All right, so let's just jump right into the sandbox and take a look at these products and their configuration. Okay, where am I at? Not there. It's right over here. Bear with me here. Here we go. Okay, so this is our sandbox. If you're not familiar, you can get access to a hosted site collection. We'll give you credentials for 30 days to come in here and navigate any of our solutions and our products. We do have, like I said, many products. We have a whole bunch of them now for Office 365. They work in on-premises as well. The web parts are for SharePoint on-premises only. So the green ones, this color coding will kind of follow you across all of our experiences. So if you go to our website, you should find that the green ones are on-prem only, the blue ones are cloud and on-prem, and then the SharePoint apps are sort of some use cases around bundling products for a particular use case, such as maybe project management or knowledge management or stuff like that. So for us, in the web parts section, we're going to dig into the 5 products here that are in the External User Manager. But like I said, you can go to our website and sign up for a trial and get access to this within 30 seconds of registering for that. And that will give you access to all our products so you can try them out and test them. If you want to try them in your own environment, trials are available through our shop so that you can download them and install them in your environment for 30 days. So let's go ahead and dig in. I think we're going to take a look at password change first. So I'm going to go down here to password change, click the demo button. Actually, that's not the right page. Let me go over here. Here we go. All right, password change. So first web part here. This web part, like I said before in the slide deck, this web part's going to give us access to allow users to change their passwords. That was a little bit slow there, wasn't it? This is all configurable, as I said before, so we're going to put this page into edit mode, and I'm just going to show you the configuration options here. So I can look up other accounts here. I did not lock this field, which I could do. So I can actually type in a user and look that user up, and then start to change that password for that user. So I'm not going to wait on that. I'm going to go ahead and edit the page, and we'll go look at configuration here. If I can get, I don't know, our sandbox is acting a little slow here, so bear with me. Hopefully nothing's being provisioned on the server at the moment. Come on. There we go. That one finally finished. Click edit again. This environment's a SharePoint 2016 environment, and it's hosted on an Azure VM currently. So I put the page into edit mode, and I'm going to go edit the web part settings here. Just want you to see how you can configure this web part and the options within. All right, so here we have our web part properties over on the right side here. So I'm going to click the button for password change web part settings. And when I look at this, these are the options that you kind of saw briefly in the slide deck there. So we have our general settings, we have some look and feel settings, we have language settings, online resources, and customer support options there. So the basic settings here for password change are that we need to specify the zone within our environment that we're going to be working against. We're going to specify the type of authentication that we're using, forms-based or Windows. And then we have those options such as showing the display domain, the display account, or do we want to display the account? And then do we want to lock these fields? So here you see in the background very faintly that we chose to lock the domain field. So it's grayed out. User can't change that. So when we look or type a username in here and we look up against that domain, they don't have the option to really kind of navigate against another domain. I can lock the account field if I want. It's auto-populated with the currently logged in user. So maybe they don't need to change that. Maybe you want to use this web part for the purposes of allowing users to change only their password as opposed to looking up other users. So we could lock that. Then we have the password change messaging. So any one of these little question marks in our configuration panes will give you a little tooltip to help you understand what's going on there. So we can display password strength meters. We can display the password expiration message at the bottom. We can display confirmation messages after password changes. And then we have password change logging, like I said before. So we can log all interactions with password changes here through this web part, as well as password policy display. So do we want to display this whole block of text here? And if so, what do we want to say in there? So this does not, like I said, dynamically pull from Active Directory to fetch the requirements. This is customizable by you. A little bit of HTML, you can do whatever you'd like there in that particular section of the web part. And then we can tell it where to place that information as well in the web part. So we put the credentials in there. I believe we need to be, so we got to be a domain administrator. We got to use credentials for a domain administrator in order for this web part to function properly. So if the Active Directory, it says, is using password setting object policy or users access SharePoint using the user principal name account, then yeah, so we need to have those credentials in there. Otherwise, we can leave it blank, it says. So if we go down to look and feel settings, we've got just a couple of options here. There's not really much to this. And this really is sort of a functional tool as opposed to, you know, something, I guess, fancy for presentation. But you do have the option to use some default layouts or custom layouts, and you can do some customization there. You can add some CSS in to maybe match some branding, etc. And then some language settings if you have any specific needs around that. And that's pretty much it. Password change, very simple, very basic, to the point, getting that that functionality to your users or maybe just to your admins, etc. So that's password change. Let's jump over to what was next in our list. I think it was password reset. No, is it password expiration? Let me go to password expiration first. I am monitoring questions, so hopefully I'll be able to circle back there and answer any that do get posted into GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar. So this is password expiration. As it says at the top of the page, 2013, 2016, and 2019, those are the versions of SharePoint that we support for all of these on-premises products. We no longer support 2010 unless you're an existing customer and we have some sort of an agreement with you. I do know that there are a lot of organizations out there that are still running 2010, just legacy stuff, and we got to continue to support that. So if you're in that case, just reach out to us and we can help you out. So password expiration does require an on-premise trial to really experience the functionality of this, because it's just tough to demonstrate the full flow of all of this information. And so what we're going to show here really is just a basic walkthrough of some screenshots as to the experience. So when a user visits a page that has the web part added to it, they're going to see something like this, and it's going to say, there's your password expires in such and such amount of days. If you want to go ahead and change your password, then we can provide a URL to navigate directly to our password change web part that may be on some page somewhere, right? So you can point them to that, allow them to change and interact with their password, etc. So the configuration, we'll go into config mode here momentarily, but it looks something like this, and then the email that gets sent out by password expiration web part looks something like this as well. It shows the account name, the password expiration date, a little bit of a message saying this is a system notification, and then a link to go and actually change the password. So let's edit the page here. Let's take a look. All right, I'm going. Actually, I don't believe I have it added to this page. Hold on. Let's go ahead and add this real quick so we can look. Password expiration. There we go. Okay, let's edit the properties here. All right, that's a little funky with this web part here. Sorry about that. The panda's in our way. All right, so the password expiration properties look something like this. There's some documentation on the web that we provide that helps you navigate through the settings and understand those in more detail. We do have the fields here right up front to connect to a domain account, a domain administrator account that allows us to actually run and function. Then we have some SharePoint settings. So we can select the SharePoint groups that'll be excluded from the web part rules. So it says only users with site permissions full control can modify this setting. So anyways, we can exclude SharePoint user groups that should not be able to see this or interact with this. And then the password expiration rules. So what is the period of days that we want this thing to start to notify people? So the number of days before expiration that the users will see a message in the web part, or be redirected to another URL to change. So you can actually automatically redirect users to a URL. So once they hit this page, you could do a check, and then it would send them off to change password if it noticed that they were within that notification period. Or we can just display a message in the web part. And then you have control over that web part text as well as putting in a URL there to allow the users to navigate to. If we display a message, like I said before, it puts this into edit mode. You can use HTML and do some customization there. That's pretty much it. Again, so can a user come in here and reset their password? This password expiration is about the notification pretty much of passwords coming up due and expiring soon. Password change allows the one we looked at first, allows the user to come in and actually change their password, but they do need to know their existing password, the old password, to do that. And next we're going to look at actually password reset. So I'm going to just jump right over here to password reset page. I'm going to put this into edit mode. All right, so here we are in edit, and we're going to edit the web part properties. So here in password reset, now once again, we need to specify the zone that we're going to be interacting with. We can choose to use the email address or use security questions to reset passwords. And security questions are interesting if you're interested in leveraging that. It really just does use those LDAP, those fields in your Active Directory profiles. And so it can actually store some information about security questions in those LDAP fields in your Active Directory, and then use those to match up against as users request to reset their passwords. So here we can use security questions, we can use email addresses, we can specify the site collection where users are located. As we know in SharePoint, the user profiles are stored there at that site collection level with specific IDs, and so we can specify the site collection for which is sort of the source for that. And then the administrative options, We can enter administrative accounts that have rights to actually reset users' passwords. And so here's where we're going to put that information to configure this thing to have the power to do what it needs to do. We can also unlock the account automatically, enable the account automatically, and specify that the user has to change their password at the next login. So you have a few options there. There's some text helper field here, so you can add some additional information if you feel like it's helpful to the users and they need a little bit more guidance. You can fill that in. We can also specify to exclude certain users or AD groups from the option to reset their passwords. Maybe you don't want your domain administrators of some sort to be able to, reset their own. I don't know. For whatever reason, you might want to exclude some users or groups. The email options. So here's where we can specify the SMTP servers that are going to actually send out those emails and notifications for this product. You can declare the email from address there so that maybe you want to use something that's like no reply, or maybe it's SharePoint notifications at company name dot something, right? So you have control over that. You can also CC other users or people to have those notifications so that you can kind of follow up on those things. And then what else? We have confirmation email options. So we can declare the email settings there for those confirmation emails and new emails. And that's it. That's pretty much it. So yes, you can come in here and reset this. Password reset, like I said before, can be put on an anonymous page, so it doesn't actually require the user to be authenticated to get to this solution. And as we can see here, if the user is accessing this, they can actually unlock their account and enable account by using this tool. So hopefully that answers any questions that were out there about that. All right, so let's go down to Site Creation Plus, the fourth product in our external user management suite. So Site Creation Plus, let's go to edit page here, and let's edit the web part properties. Let's take a look at this. So Site Creation Plus, how are we going to build the URL for the site that gets requested for creation? We can either do that through title or description. And so we're going to use title. And then we're going to, and the title field correlates to the form over here, right? So as users request site creation, they're going to fill in a title and a description, and we're going to build the URL based on the title they gave us. Now we can automatically add to Quick Launch the sites that get built. Skip this here. Site templates. This is going to allow us to specify what kind of sites get provisioned when the user uses this web part. So if you have a need for users to request sites of varying template types, then you're going to want to add maybe pages for each type of request. So maybe this page should be called Team Site Request, right? And this tool can be configured that any site that's requested through here uses the team site template. Maybe you have another page though for document centers, right? And so if you wanted a user to be able to request a document center gets provisioned, then you could select this, put that on a page, and now any form that gets submitted on that page would build sites based on that template type, right? So those are your options for kind of governing the types of sites that are created by users and allowing users to actually go through that process to create sites and still remain in line with your vision and your governance plan for site creations. So anyways, add to Quick Launch is an option so that when they build this site, it'll automatically add it to the Quick Launch, and then they use top link bar from the parent site. What you're going to notice here is as you go through to create new sites in SharePoint, most of the fields here that you're going to configure for this thing are what SharePoint would normally ask you as you're going through that site creation process, but we're just going to specify it so that the users don't have to do that. And it does follow the plan that we've put in place. So adding top link bar from the parent site, we can check that, and then the security groups. How do we want sites that get provisioned from this web part to have security? Do we want them to be using inherited security groups from maybe the site collection level, or do we want it to go ahead and provision new ones? And here we have a little bit of a dynamic syntax so that we can fill in the title that they gave us of the site and then build the visitors group for that, and the members group and the owners group. You can use an existing group, so you could say, I want to build all sites that are created through this tool using existing groups that you could just look up through your tool here. Do we want to add site to links list? So sometimes people build links lists to sites that are in the site collection so that users have sort of a gallery or a site map, if you will, to kind of navigate, filter through, and look at, so that they can see the sites that are out there and become aware of ones maybe they weren't formerly aware of being in existence, right? So if you are one of those groups that has a links list so that you can kind of navigate across all of those, then maybe you want to add this site automatically to that links list. And that's all this does, is give you that option so that you can build a list to go and filter down and look at, and etc. So a bunch of options there for specifying what field in that list contains the site URL, the title, or the description, etc. So 3 last options here for site creation plus, and that's to hide user permission section. So you don't actually have to prompt the user for that or allow them to interact with that at all. So we could just hide that. We can also navigate to new site after the site creation process is done. So we could just send them off on their way to the new site that gets newly generated. And then we can optimize site URLs for search engine SEO type of functionality so that they're useful. Okay, I think that's it for Site Creation Plus. And then last but not least, we have our user account setup web part in the external user management suite. Let's take a look at that. So we're going to go ahead and put this page in edit mode. And I'm going to edit the web part properties for this. So here we are, Bamboo user account setup web part. And what you see here is a form that's presented to the user, and this primarily would be probably hidden on a page or put on a page that's targeted to maybe admins, I would assume, unless you have some use cases around maybe your project management team is trying to build user accounts for external users to be able to come in, right? Maybe that's a good use case. But for whatever reason, you have this form that can be placed on any web page behind any security you want. And it allows them to build an Active Directory profile, so they can specify the fields that are required for an Active Directory profile. So the settings around this web part, we have our security settings, which kind of allows us to specify who can actually create these accounts, who has access to this web part, and you can use your SharePoint groups and permission levels to specify that. Since this is our demo and test environment that customers can sign up for and interact with, we wanted pretty much everyone to be able to come in here and configure some of this stuff. Then we have our display settings. And display settings is just a general message like it says. You can see it over here on the left side behind in the sort of grayed out screen there. The account details, enter the details about the new account being created. That's all just text that we put in here in this part. And so it is an HTML field. You can customize that, add your imagery, etc., do what you need to do, and provide the user with a little bit more direction potentially. Language settings, basic again, so that we can specify some language files if you need that. We have our authentication provider settings here, so we once again have to specify our zone that we're going to be interacting with, the authentication provider type, so we have our Active Directory services, our NT Directory services, or forms-based authentication. And then we have our, excuse me, our authentication provider administrator account, so that this tool can actually do what it needs to do and go and provision these profiles and these accounts. We have a SharePoint administrator account, so that the tool can actually add users to the site groups and modify user information lists. So it does need 2 account types there. And then we have our administrative account option, so we can use the requester account to add users to SharePoint groups. We can allow WebPart to be imported in other places. And then we have our Active Directory connection details. So we'll need our FQDN, our fully qualified domain name, as well as our domain name, old school, right? So our, sorry, Bamboo Solutions / Kevin Townsend or something like that, right? So a couple of configuration settings there. The new account settings. So do we want to require the unique email address? Yes, we do, probably. Do we want to specify that the user cannot change their password when the account's created? Do we want password to never expire? Do we want to change password at next login? You'll probably be familiar with these already if you've been creating accounts in Active Directory before. These are those types of checkboxes that you'll find there in Active Directory as you're provisioning them. So we're giving that option here to the user to specify that we can flag these if we need to. So we can disable the accounts, change the passwords, etc. And then for Active Directory services, what you're going to get here is a look into the profile fields that are currently in your Active Directory. And you can add these from Active Directory, and they will populate in this form. So if you have custom profile fields that are being collected in your Active Directory, you can look those up and add them to the form there. We have Active Directory organizational units that we want to be able to add these users to specifically, so they don't just go get dumped into the root of your AD. So you do get to choose your OU. You have Active Directory security groups. Do we want to add these users to Active Directory security groups? We have SharePoint security groups. Do we want to add users to a SharePoint security group when they're provisioned, as well as SharePoint permission levels? What kind of permission levels do we want to add them to or give them access to? So when you check those, it'll just bring up a new form there and allow you to specify those things. So very handy tool there for not having to remote desktop into your Active Directory servers and to interact with them in sort of that traditional way. You could actually do that now through maybe a administrative site that you would add this web part to that would give your admins access to do it right here through SharePoint with some governed policies, if you will, of creation. All right, so down here we've got our approval and logging settings. So if you want to, you can actually use a very basic administrator approval process here through this account creation, so that someone else has to actually sign off on, yes, I do want John Smith to have an account. You don't have to, though, and you could build this around maybe your own workflow, etc. But this process is very simple. You just choose a few approvers there. It's a SharePoint lookup field. And you can control the email. And so when the user clicks the clicks the click here link that's in the email, they'd be taken to a page that says approve or reject, pretty much. And it's that simple. It's nothing fancy, but it does at least send it out to someone else for approval and gives you some configuration over what that email contains. There are some dynamic fields you can inject into the email here by using the syntax, so you can get a little bit more of an idea of what's going on there and who it pertains to. The confirmation email, we can format some of that here as well. And then we can specify who actually receives the email once these things go out. So do you want the new account to receive it as well as the requester, or just the new account to receive the credentials? Yep. So audit log configuration, we can log all account creations, and we can specify the attributes that we want to send into that log. And that's it. And then we have our help and online resources there, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, again, 5 web parts that make up our external user manager. We got our password change, password expiration, password reset, site creation plus, and user account setup. And through those 5 tools, you should be able to manage users in a very simplified, customized, and maybe a more intuitive manner than you might be traditionally used to doing through your Active Directory directly. All right, so let's go back to the slides here. So pricing for the product. So External User Manager is 5 products. In the first year, it is $4,783. In the second year plus, you just continue to pay 22% each year after that first year. And that would keep you on an active support and maintenance plan. And that gives you access to bug fixes, feature updates, the ability to use our support system so that you can submit tickets and get direct support to you and your team. So 22% each year after that to stay in that status. But it is first year $4,783 per server that's running the web application service, the SharePoint Foundation web application service. Used to be very easy just to say it's per web front-end server licensing. That's how we traditionally used to do that. But Microsoft has changed things up with MinRoll and all the new ways to configure your SharePoint farms. So now it really is, you have to go and look at your server farm and identify which ones are running that what used to be the service that was only run on web front-end servers. That's the SharePoint Foundation web application service. It's difficult, but that's kind of how licensing is going here. So same for non-production. Non-production is usually just 50% the cost of production per server running that service. Second year, again, 22% of that cost for each server. If you're ever interested in looking at pricing for any of our products individually or through these suites, you can always visit our shop at shop.bamboosolutions.com, and that'll get you pricing right there. It'll show you the versions that we have, which should be 2013, 2016, and 2019 for all of these products. if you're interested in getting a trial, you can go to our website. In the top right corner of every page on our website, there's a Contact Us button. It's an orange button. Click that. There are two options in that form. One is to schedule a call with us so that we can chat and talk about your needs or what you need help with or what questions you might have. And the other option is to actually request a trial. So if you do request a trial, we'll send you credentials to log into your very own site collection here on our sandbox, like I talked about earlier. And you can test out any of our products that are on there and installed and configured already. So that's always a good way. If you're interested in an on-prem trial, you just go to our shop at shop.bamboosolutions.com, and you can actually download the product and install it in your environment for 30 days there. So we're always working on our products. Obviously, we work. The whole company works on the same sprint. So we for 2 weeks, the whole company is working against the same sprint, and all of our products are getting attention and constantly being updated based on customer feedback. We love that we drive a lot of our development backlog based on customer feedback because it means that we're getting things that customers want out into the market as fast as we can. And yeah, new releases are happening all the time. So stay up to date with us on our website and see what's going on there. I actually stream live every Wednesday and Friday on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook now. So if you're interested in kind of walking through some of our products with me on a live stream and just kind of hanging out, interacting, asking questions, and just chatting, please do join me on Wednesdays. On Fridays at noon Eastern, we do our weekly newsletter. So if you're interested in kind of staying up to date with what's happening in the SharePoint world, we send a newsletter out every Friday morning at 8 a.m. And then that day on around noon, I get online and live stream to talk about that newsletter and talk about all the latest news in SharePoint. So if you're interested in that and just kind of joining us in our little community there, I'd love to have you. Please do jump on. There's a couple of links down there at the bottom to join us. And that's all I've got today. So I hope I answered everyone's questions. If you have any other questions, please feel free. I'm going to hang out for just a couple more minutes and listen in for any questions that roll in. But if you'd like to just reach out to me directly, you can always hit me up at sales@bamboosolutions.com. That'll get right to me. And I would be more than happy to answer any questions you have that way as well. So like I said, thank you all for your time today. I'm going to hang out here just for 2 more minutes just to see if anything comes in. Otherwise, I appreciate it.